Let's begin by telling you that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) has increased the price of premium motor spirits, commonly known as petrol, to 1,025 naira per litre in Lagos and surrounding areas, up from 980 naira per litre. In the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, petrol prices also rose from 1,030 naira to 1,060 naira per litre, according to observations at multiple NNPCL stations on Tuesday. This price adjustment, the third since September, is part of the government's ongoing deregulation policy, which allows fuel prices to respond to market demand and supply conditions. Meanwhile, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has raised concerns over the continued importation of petrol, despite its production capacity at the new $20 billion facility in Lekki. Oil marketers are predicting further price increases in the near future as the energy sector adjusts to these evolving dynamics. Well, to further discuss this, I'm being joined by President Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, Lagos Chapter, Dr. Femi Igbesola. Thank you so much, Dr. Femi, for taking time out to speak to us this morning. What are some of the effects of the recent fuel price increase on small businesses in Nigeria, particularly those in the transportation and logistics sector?
Well, the impact has been very massive and negative on us. And the incessant increase in the hike of fuel price has made it very, very difficult for us to survive in business. Formerly, our intention is to grow and scale, but I must tell you now that we are at the survival stage. Survival stage in the sense that we find it difficult to make profits as the transporters, those who are transporters under our board, we find it very difficult to make profit this time because the increase in price of fuel cannot be passed in totality to the masses, and that eats a lot into our profit. At the same time, too, for us in business who does logistics, who do supplies, it has disrupted our supply chain because we cannot supply as we used to do before because of the very high cost of supply now. And all other logistic companies that engage with us, we have to begin to disengage with some of them because we can no longer cope. Like I did mention, it is about survival now and not about growth.
Well, talking about survival, let's also look at a very critical aspect. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has expressed concerns about the continued importation of petrol despite its production capacity. Yesterday, we did see Dangote himself speak. Do you think the government should prioritize local production and refined products to reduce reliance on imports?
Yes, that should be our priority now. Whatever will bring that down the cost of fuel should be the priority of everybody, particularly government. For us to be able to thrive in the economy, the MSME sector must be enabled. One way to enable it is to make sure that cost of doing business comes down. So if we can rely on local refineries, now that we have one or a couple of number of local refineries and we're able to get it at a cheaper rate, I think it's better for us. It will also help us to stabilize our FX instead of taking foreign exchange and buy imported fuel elsewhere. At the same time, too, we believe that the savings from that earnings will be used by government to also improve ease of doing business. As much as fuel price is going up, we also believe that if government is actually coming up with the right intervention in the MSME ecosystem, we will be able to survive better because we'll have some form of cushioning effects that can mitigate against the negative impact of this continuous hike in fuel price.
All right, let's look at the government's deregulation policy, which is aimed to allow fuel prices to respond to market demand and supply conditions. Now, do you actually think this policy will eventually benefit small businesses in the long run, or will it lead to more challenges like what we're seeing now?
Well, that is the best practice in most economies of the world. But we should understand that Nigerian economy is a bit different. We are faced with avalanche of issues at the moment. One of it is inflation and all of that. The poverty rate in the country is so high, and a lot of things are playing out together at the same time. So as much as we want to play with the dynamics of the international market price, we should also understand that we must make sure that the welfare of the citizens are well taken care of, such that we cater for intervention programs that can help them survive even in the midst of high price. Some of the intervention programs we expect government to do now is to have liberalized the CNG gas, such that it is easier for everybody to be able to access it, install it, and make use of it, and get cheaper form of energy to run their businesses, to run their houses. We also expect government to have come out with the intervention fund they promised over time. This was announced last year. Until now, we have not been able to see quite a number of this intervention fund playing out, particularly in the MSME sector. Yes, it was agreed that it was again mentioned that it will be relaunched this week, but we believe this should have come on board ever before coming up with continuous fuel hike that we used to have from time to time. We also expect government to be engaging the stakeholders more than they are doing, engaging stakeholders, particularly in the business sector, to tell them the minds of government, the workings of government, what government has in stock to be able to support them so that they can survive this very harsh time. It is indeed very, very harsh, and quite a lot of businesses are closing down by the day. According to statistics, we have about 20% of businesses that has gone down in the last 2 years. That is a very sorry case.
Well, quite a sad situation that we find ourselves now. But small businesses often operate on thin profit margins, very thin. How can they absorb the increased fuel costs without passing them on to consumers? And what support can the government offer to mitigate the impact? I mean, just this morning, in a conversation I was having with my colleagues, we had noticed that some of these small businesses are pushing the VAT, especially to customers. And this seems to be very, very problematic, especially when it comes to payment. What's your take on this?
Over time, our profit margin has become highly eroded, very eroded, such that we find it very difficult now to absorb any other shock or hike in price of fuel or other costs of doing business. And for that reason, we have no choice now than to pass it to the end consumer, which is a sorry case also. But we just do not have any choice if we must survive. But we are also on our own trying to look at how we can begin to innovate and be more creative with the way we do our business so that we can have more profit and be able to share part of this hike with the consumers. At the same time, too, we keep advocating that government should do more, be more intentional in supporting the MSME ecospace by bringing out a lot of solutions, a lot of support programs, a lot of intervention programs that can assist the MSMEs to be able to cope at this time. This sector is actually ailing, and it is the engine of growth of the economy. So government must now come down to begin to see how they can support us. This support can only be done if they have a good understanding of that sector, and that can also be achievable if they have a very strong handshake with stakeholders in the MSME sector. We have also decided to also some way to share some of our weights in the sense of reducing production line, reducing staff strength, reducing other logistics and metrics that we use for our businesses so that we can reduce costs, so that all of these costs will not be passed to the consumers. But at this point, we are at the break point. We can no longer absorb some of this hike again, and it has to go to the customers. And this has also resulted in very low sales for us because even the consumers too already have their purchasing power eroded. So it's about very low sales, and that is already threatening the life of our businesses and our own livelihood. And we pray that government come to see the need to intervene immediately and pay more than the usual attention on the MSME sector.
I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Femi Egbeshola, for speaking to us, Association President, Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria. Thank you for taking time to speak with us here on News Now.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. Let's move on now to our very next story. President Bola Tinubu has commended the Implementation Committee on the Naira-based sales of crude oil and refined products and asked the members to resolve any teething problems. In a review meeting at the State House, Abuja, the president said that using the Naira was conceived to remove the exchange rate hurdle. President Tinubu said the various players in the oil sector, including the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited and Dangote Refinery, should work to improve the economy and the livelihood of Nigerians. On his part, the chief executive of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, told the president that the refinery had more than 500 million litres of fuel in reserve after supplying 400 million to the economy. He said the refinery could collaborate with the other refineries managed by NNPCL Limited to meet an estimated 32 million litres of local petrol needs. Let's give you some updates on the power outage in northern Nigeria, where the Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, has confirmed that security agencies are set to take decisive action against insurgents responsible for damaging critical power infrastructure in northern Nigeria. This development comes after the Transmission Company of Nigeria announced that the ongoing repairs to the damaged transmission line that led to a blackout in the region will be completed by Sunday, 3rd of November 2024. The outages are largely attributed to the vandalism of transmission lines, including the key Shiroro-Kaduna line. Speaking on the Senate floor Tuesday, Senator Jibrin assured lawmakers that the Office of the National Security Advisor is fully engaged with the issue.
The Secretary of Senate is concerned about the lack of electricity supply in the northern part of this country. This is happening due to the fact that the electricity tower coming from within the area that electricity is taken to the northern part of the country was vandalized by terrorists. And it has become a problem for the TCN staff to get to where this occurred, to get it restored, because that area is being occupied by terrorists. Now, what has been done is, what is being done now is that the security agencies are putting their hands together to get to that spot and try to eradicate or take away the threat that is being there for quite a while.
Let's go for a quick break now. When we come back, we'll take a look at the story concerning Governor Alex Otti absent as Labour Party kicks off Abia LG election campaign. Stay with us. Welcome back to News Now. Let's go to political matters. Governor Alex Otti on Tuesday was conspicuously absent from the Labour Party's flag-off of campaigns for the local government election on Saturday, November 2nd, 2024. Also absent were the Deputy Governor Ikechukwu Emetu, National and State Assembly members of Labour Party, and aides of the Governor. News Central's Chinwe Ugeli reports.
Tuesday's flag-off of campaigns for the ruling Labour Party in Abia State has answered the questions of where the governor stands in the internal crisis of the party. Throughout the program, which took place at the Aba Recreation Club, no serving elected or appointed public officer in the state of Labour Party showed presence, although the party faithful hoped for otherwise.
In Abia State, Dr. Alex Otti is our leader, our political leader. Governor himself is still a Labour Party member, and I believe he must surely support his own.
This may also be a confirmation to claims that the governor has his preferred candidates for the elections sponsored through Zenith Labour Party. Zenith Labour Party had last week also flagged off campaigns in Aba with aides of Governor Alex Otti present as the candidates turned out to be former Labour Party members and loyalists of the governor. The National Vice Chairman Southeast of the Labour Party, CKE Gara, and the State Party Chairman Prince Ndubeze at their flag-off say the party will always uphold the principles that earned it victory at the 2023 polls.
Once you get the people's choice, you have little or nothing to do as campaign. Because he is the people's choice, the people will campaign for him, the people will stand to defend him, the people will also contribute to make sure he succeeds.
Let every other party that are represented in Abia State give them the opportunity to be in this contest so that the best will emerge.
Candidates and various party faithful are putting their faith in the electoral body in the conduct of the coming election.
We believe in the ability of the APSEC chairman. He has promised to deliver a free, fair, credible election. So we believe he will do justice and give a level playing field for all parties to participate.
And of course, we are the government in power, and the candidates that we have across the 17 local governments are pure reflection of the will of the people.
In fact, this is going to be a test for the governor of Abia State, because we know it's free and fair election that bring him as the governor. So we are expecting him to do the free and fair election.
You're sure of what?
Having victory. If the governor allow this election to be free and fair.
From the sales of form to the process of screening, they have been very, very fair to all the political parties.
Although the chairman of the Abia State Independent Electoral Commission has become press shy lately, the commission seems partly ready with some non-sensitive materials, even as the long-awaited list of candidates has been published. In Umuahia for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugele.
Public affairs experts in Nigeria urging the immediate implementation of the Justice Owe's report on electoral reforms, saying the non-implementation of the report can lead to a collapse of the nation's democracy. They made this call during the second Ario Dare Atoye Memorial Election Reform Session organized by the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. News Central's Joshua Imarayi has the details in this report.
The lecture is in honor of late human rights activist Ariyo Dare Atoye. The engagement is second in a series also known as the second Ariyo Dare Atoye Memorial Election Reform Series, with the theme Presentation of a National Action Plan for Electoral Reforms. The executive director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought calls for urgent electoral reforms to protect the nation's fragile democracy.
The Nigerian democracy is at the verge of collapse. That's really only those who pretend that it's not about to collapse. And it won't just collapse. The nation might as well collapse with it. The last election almost forecloses the possibility that with the current INEC, with the current structure, and the current judicial setup, many people, many reasonable people, would argue that there's no chance of removing a government that is not performing.
He also called for the immediate implementation of the Justice Owe's report on electoral reforms.
So the Owe's report says first thing to do, dismantle INEC as composed, create a different electoral body. We can retweak the INEC, the Owe's model, allow the president to still do appointment, but appointment will be like routine, like foreclosure. There will be a competitive merit-based recruitment like the Owe's reported. End of the day, the president has maybe 2 persons.
Prominent civil society activist NOB highlighted the pressing need for a transparent electoral process that allows Nigerians freely choose their leaders.
From the civil society, we are not bothered about who is going to be on the table or who wins. Let the process be fair and free. Let Nigerians choose their own leaders by themselves, by the process of free and fair election.
Another popular civil rights activist present at the engagement called for decisive reforms to shield Nigeria's institution from politically exposed persons.
Politically exposed persons should not go anywhere near our judiciary. Politically exposed persons should not go anywhere near EFCC. The reason why you see some of these things happening today, where EFCC wants to carry out an operation and Yabelo already has a hint before the operation happens, is because go and look at the recruitment process for EFCC in the last 10 years. It's politicians, senators, House of Reps, they bring their children, their cousin, they bring a list.
Participants at the engagement also called for the prosecution of citizens engaged in electoral offences during elections in Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
The Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives has called for collective action against barriers that limit women's political representation, especially in the legislative arm of government. The Speaker made this call during the International Legislative Dialogue on Women and the Constitution Amendment process in the country, where he expressed concern over the low representation of women in Parliament, calling for efforts to increase their numbers. Our correspondent Idong Joseph has more.
Development Committee.
In Nigeria's parliament, records indicate that women's representation remains low, despite efforts by various interest groups to increase their numbers.
I so support, Mr. Speaker. Those in support of this motion should say aye.
Out of over 400 seats at the national level, only about 20 are currently occupied by female lawmakers. This situation has sparked discussions about increasing women's representation, as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the wife of the president, and the deputy ambassador of the European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS have all voiced their concerns.
Rwanda, with over 60% women representation in its parliament, has shown us that robust, intentional policies work.
Particularly in states like Kwara, where we had 5, and I think Ekiti had 6. This was, however, not the case at the current 10th National Assembly.
There is a strong evidence all around the world that as more women are elected to office, there is an increase in policy making that emphasizes quality of life and reflects the priorities of families.
Despite only 4 women elected into the 10th Senate, the President of the Senate says that efforts were out in place to increase women's representation.
We have taken steps to increase women representation in decision-making bodies, including introduction of gender quotas in political party nominations. I think we need to be appreciated.
However, the Speaker of the House of Representatives says that for Nigeria to reverse this trend, stakeholders must collaborate to dismantle the barriers limiting women's representation. Also, the Deputy Speaker added his voice to the debate. He says that the Constitution Review Committee is considering a bill aimed at ensuring fair women's representation.
This stark gap speaks not of a lack of capable women, but of institutional barriers we must all work to dismantle.
Provide for a seat reservation for women in the National and State Houses of Assembly, HB 1349, alongside other 4 gender justice bills are under consideration.
While the importance of women's political participation cannot be overemphasized, stakeholders believe that the ongoing constitution review process presents an opportunity to adopt a more inclusive legal framework that will increase women's representation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Nigerian women have been encouraged to reach their dreams in their careers and attain the highest levels of leadership in politics and businesses. This was at a Women in Business and Politics Summit in the nation's capital, Abuja, where women were urged to support one another irrespective of political or cultural affiliations.
Men most times are used photography, snatching ballot boxes and all. You don't see women doing that in men. So the people are actually turning in those numbers that elect men are women. And if women should come together and say, okay, we actually want proper representation in power, and come forward and get behind one person, that person will emerge, whether we men like.
Some stakeholders in Plateau State are optimistic that the rapid upgrade in the education sector in the state will sooner than later, improve the economic and livelihood of residents of the state. So says the state governor Caleb Mutfwang, who was at the commissioning and handing over of Government Technical College in Mangu local government area of Plateau State to the Federal Ministry of Education. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe tells us more.
Federal Government Technical College, Mangun, in Mangu local government area of Plateau State, was birthed from Government Science School, Mangun. The quest for improved standard of education and skills acquisition for better livelihood of the youth of Plateau State gave rise to this development, an initiative of the member representing Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency. For Governor Caleb Mutfwang, the upgrade of Federal Technical College will turn the community of Mangun into a technical hub.
Yeah, it means a lot to the development of skills, growth, economic impact, career opportunities, adaptability, societal impact, and as well as lifelong learning opportunities for our teeming youth.
Before now, Plateau was the only state in the country without a government science and technical school. This is the icing on the cake for major stakeholders at this event.
I always tell people, this is time for governance. It's not for party issue.
It's a time that we need to unite and see what we can do to develop our land. See what we can do to bring our own quota. Let's utilize this opportunity. We don't know whether it will be the last.
And the part of the ministry, we want to ensure that the structural yard group, as he has said, not only that, we want to ensure that within now and next year, everything is put in place and the students will come here and start their academic activity.
And for us, senior secondary is the bridge from the basic to the tertiary. So it's important that those skills and the learnings that our youth will go on with are very, very important.
The 1.5 billion naira project, when completed, would, among others, pave the way for one ICT library, 4 laboratories, and 200 bed spaces for the benefit of the students. In Mangu local government area for New Central, Chizoba and Niue.
The United States Consulate General, in collaboration with the University of Lagos, has organized a program to educate and engage students, faculty members, the broader University of Lagos community, as well as the general public about the U.S. electoral process, while fostering dialogue on the importance of civic participation in the democratic process. New Central's Bettina Willie reports.
The event, held at the Senate building of the University of Lagos, brought together experts and citizens alike to engage in discussions designed to demystify how elections work in the United States.
People want to pick a winner, right? And so the two largest parties have become the dominant, built into the traditions, the fabric of this winner-take-all at the state-level election that has enabled these two parties to dominate the narrative. But there are a lot of parties, and there are constant challenges to those parties, just like you see here, third-party challenges every once in a while as well.
The thing about even this electoral college business is that you are not sure the man in whose hand you have put your faith or are asked to represent your voice will actually represent you. Nobody's a bit. That's why in some states you have some who depart from the norm.
Civic participation is crucial in the democratic process for several reasons. It empowers individuals to have a voice in governance, influencing decisions that affect their lives and communities. But is democracy really the best form of government?
Because in the 2 years that I've been here in Nigeria, I have observed 4 elections. And while the observations of those elections certainly brought to light issues that INEC and Nigerians can focus on to ensure the election process itself is more free, more fair, more transparent, and a more credible election of the will of the voters with each succeeding election. And I believe that progress, small steps, that's what our commitment is in order to ensure accountable governance.
This program aligns with the U.S. mission's objectives of promoting democratic values, encouraging active citizen participation in elections, and deepening the bilateral people-to-people ties between the United States and Nigeria. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Nwili.
Welcome back. Polls open in Southern Africa's diamond-rich nation of Botswana Wednesday morning, with the ruling party seeking to extend its nearly 6-decade rule and hand a second term to President Mokwetsi Masisi. The Botswana Democratic Party, the ruling party, had on Tuesday held its star rally in the capital city of Gaborone as President Masisi took the stage to make his final pitch to voters. Meanwhile, the main opposition umbrella for Democratic Change leader Duma Boko has assured his supporters that if voted into power, he will create jobs in a space of 3 years. New Central's Bongani Siziba gives us the story.
President Mokwetsi Masisi and the Botswana Democratic Party, a pivotal moment in the lead-up to Wednesday's elections. Here, this gathering, he aims to rally his supporters and ensure a decisive victory.
2019, we had a clean sweep, Mohab Road. 2024, I want you to polish. Kibatarina di-city tsotlhe mo Gaborone. Ke batla re tsaya di-city tsotlhe tsa palamente, di-city tsotlhe tsa council. Ke batla gore re go gakala, re betle Gaborone o mošwa, ka gore Gaborone ke motse mogolo.
President Masisi spoke to a collective yearning for progressing a better life for all. He promised that if elected with a 2/3 majority, he would implement initiatives to boost the economy and improve healthcare and foster education.
Ke a ipela ka gore mo ngwageng tse thano tse di itileng ke kgonne gore ke tutuse batswana bangwe ba tumele go batla go huma e la ntlha mme batswana kana ba na le madi ba dirisa mo gae ba thusa batsadi ba bone ba tlhabolola magae bone ya ka o tsamaya botswana otlhe motse mongwe le mongwe ga gona ntlo tse di a gonyaka di a go motswana a e jake party ke batla gore batswana anong ba simolole go aga madirelo ba rene di-business ba ire manufacturing plant puso ya me e teng e ikaeletse go ba adima madi go ba tataisa.
His supporters believe in him and trust him with their vote. As President Masisi makes his case, he emphasizes the importance of unity and shared vision. He knows that for the BDP to continue its legacy, mobilizing supporters to the ballot box is critical. As the night closes in, one sentiment hangs in the air: hope for a stronger, more vibrant Botswana. The future is in the hands of the citizens, and they are ready to stand up and be counted this election day. In Gaborone, Botswana, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
And Bongani Siziba is ready to talk to me now. She is live at the polling unit where President Masisi is looking to cast his vote. Bongani, thank you for being here. And most importantly, it's good to know that you could make it on time. Could you give us an update on what's really happening? Has the president arrived? Any view of his motorcade, or better still, any view of anybody who definitely works with the president? Any updates?
Gaborone, where the president of the country, Mokgweetsi Masisi, is going to cast his vote. We have seen some of his family members have started to come in. But today, it's a big day for Botswana people, their democracy at exercise. We started to see lines forming as early as 5 a.m. People are ready to cast their votes. If I could ask my cameraman just to show you the queues that are here, and we can see that the old and young are in the queues, ready to cast their vote. Long queues, like I said, started forming early in the morning. Citizens eager to cast their votes, putting that X on the ballot as we go further. Just to show you what's going on here, as you can see, the queues are people out in their democracy and exercise it. As you can see, the old, young ones that are on the queues, especially in polling stations that are around the country, basically, of people trying to exercise their vote. As you can see here, at this polling station, this is where one person will come here, their names will be checked. Then if they are on the voters' roll, then they can go inside and cast their vote to come here. This is where the president is citizen of Botswana. But like I've said, that what I've seen is many youths are in the queues, and many of them that I've spoken to, they are speaking about change. Also, the president yesterday mentioned about the economy of the country and what he's going to do 5 years to come if he is re-elected into power, taking the citizen into confidence that whatever the issues that they are mentioning, that the country country is going through. The president saying there that he's going to fix the problems that the country is facing. And one voter that I spoke to early in the morning, he spoke about water crisis in the country in some areas. So the president also mentioned the interesting aspect that we saw yesterday during his rally. He came in an electric vehicle, something that he says that he wants those vehicles to be manufactured here in Botswana. That will give more employment to the citizens. So, Joe, we are here and still waiting for the arrival of the president. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Bongani Siziba, for giving us the update on what's going on there in Botswana. Still awaiting the arrival of the president. And despite a lot that has been said, hopefully he would arrive pretty soon and this will be done and dusted. But I would have loved to ask just one last question. Let me see if I can ensure that the connection is right. My question to you simply is, what's the response like? What's the turnout like? It seems a bit scanty, even though we understand that the population of Botswana isn't that much, about 2.5 and so on. But would you say there's voter apathy, or would you say that you have a lot of persons who have come out to engage in this civil right?
Yes, definitely, Joe. Like I indicated, that the youths this time around have come up in their numbers, especially they are speaking about change. There are certain things that they are saying the country is not doing well, especially economically. So the youths have come out to vote and they registered. So it's the youths that are out here and they are registering their concerns about the economy of the country. And the first polling station where I went to, the lines were very long, longer than this one that we are seeing here. And in that queue, half of the people that were there, it was let me just say 18 to 45 years, people were in that queue. So it shows that the youth came out in their numbers to vote this time around, something that many said that they have not been seeing in previous elections.
Thank you so much, Bongani Siziba. We will get back to you. Of course, looking forward to see the president come through. When he does, you can be rest assured that we will indeed connect with you once again. Thanks for your time. Let's move on now with the news. A new militia group known as the Eastern Battalion in Sudan has announced the deployment of its fighters in the country's eastern region. Now, this move, made public on Tuesday, reportedly aligns with Sudan's armed forces, which have been locked in a fierce battle against paramilitary groups for over 18 months. The conflict, which erupted in April 2023, pit Sudan's regular armed forces, led by de facto leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, against the Rapid Support Forces, a powerful paramilitary group led by former Deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The violence has claimed tens of thousands of lives and forced over 11 million people to flee, with more than 3 million crossing Sudan's borders, according to the International Organization for Migration. The emergence of the Eastern Battalion, among other militias reportedly trained in Eritrea, has raised concerns over the involvement of additional armed factions in this protracted and devastating conflict. In a sharp escalation of diplomatic tension, Somalia has ordered the expulsion of a senior Ethiopian diplomat amid growing strain between the East African neighbors. On Tuesday, Somalia's foreign ministry announced that Ali Mohammed Adan, holding the rank of Counselor Second at the Ethiopian embassy, has been given 72 hours to leave the country. While no specific reasons were cited, the ministry's statement noted that Adan had failed to respect the laws of the host nation and abstained from involvement in its internal affairs. This diplomatic move comes amid heightened friction since Ethiopia's January agreement to develop a port in Somaliland, a region seeking independence from Somalia. Additionally, Somalia plans to exclude Ethiopian troops from a new African Union peacekeeping force set for deployment on January the 1st, aimed at combating the Al-Shabaab insurgency. Africa, as a continent brimming with opportunities, presents a complex business landscape as well. The ease of doing business varies significantly across countries, influenced by government policies, infrastructure and regulatory environments. Government policies play a pivotal role in shaping the business environment. While some African nations have implemented reforms to attract foreign investment and stimulate economic growth, others have policies that can hinder business operations. News Central correspondent Lekon Obanjo uses South Africa and Nigeria as case study and filed in this report.
The Nigerian government has announced plans to support 600,000 small-scale farmers nationwide to increase food production and curb rising inflation. This initiative was highlighted by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, at a press briefing during the 2024 IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C., United States of America, as per a statement by Mohammed Manga, the ministry's Director of Information and Public Relations. Minister Edun emphasized the government's focus on maximizing the current wet season harvest and preparing for an efficient dry season. Given that food accounts for 50% of the consumer price index, Edu noted that boosting agricultural output is a strategic approach to reducing inflation. He remarked, and I quote, "One of the key things we are focusing on at this particular time is ensuring that we dutifully collect the wet season harvest, which is underway." End of quote. The Transmission Company of Nigeria reports spending 29.3 billion naira to repair 266 electricity towers damaged by vandals over the last 34 months, from January 2022 to October 2024. This series of attacks has negatively impacted power availability and accessibility nationwide, highlighting the vulnerability of Nigeria's power infrastructure. The TCN data, coupled with findings from the recent Africa Trade Barometer report, shows the significant economic impact of power disruptions, with Nigeria losing an estimated $26 billion annually to power failures. Vandalism incidents occurred in key regions, including Abuja, Lagos, Kano, Enugu, Bauchi, Port Harcourt, and Benin. To address the damage, TCN has outsourced some tower repairs while also deploying its in-house engineers to manage others. The Ghanaian cedi is expected to remain under pressure this week as strong demand for foreign exchange persists, despite Ghana's notable progress with the IMF's Economic Credit Facility program. The cedi depreciated last week against major currencies, with demand from both local and offshore markets driving this trend. To mitigate the demand, the Bank of Ghana accepted all bids totaling $89.3 million in its recent 7-day foreign exchange auction. However, this effort fell short as the cedi dropped 1.06% week on week to a mid-rate of 16.55 Ghanaian cedis per US dollar and declined 0.23% and 0.28% against the pound and euro, respectively. And that's all on business news. I am Lekon Obanjo.
And in the world of sports, after exiting the ongoing Under-17 FIFA Women's World Cup, Nigeria's Under-17 women's team, Flamingos, have returned to the country. Despite a strong start to the tournament, the Nigerian side fell to the United States in the quarter-finals. The Americans showcased their dominance, winning the game comfortably by 2-0. The Flamingos, who achieved their best ever finish of third place in India in 2022, aim to surpass that record but face a determined American side eager to reach their first semi-final since 2008. Despite the defeat, fans applauded Oluokere and his charges for putting up a good fighting against their American counterparts. Nigeria and Ghana face off today in Lomé, Togo for the WAFU B Under-20 Championship title, a clash of West African powerhouses with regional pride and bragging rights at stake. Nigeria's Flying Eagles, aiming to defend their title, rebounded from an opening loss to Burkina Faso, later defeating Ivory Coast 2-1 and Niger 3-1 to reach the final. Ghana's Black Satellite, starting slowly, grew stronger, topping Group A after draws with Togo and Benin, then beating Niger and Ivory Coast to secure their final spot. Both teams have qualified for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, but the final remains a significant showdown. Coach Aliyu Zubairu hopes Nigeria's resilience and teamwork will secure them the title over their historic rivals. And that's all the news we have for you for this hour. But before we go, let's take a look at some of the top stories that we've brought to you this hour. NNPCL has increased petrol price for a third time since September. Somalia orders Ethiopian envoy to leave amid dispute over Somaliland port deal. We also told you that new militia group has been deployed in eastern region amid 18-month battle in Sudan. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422. You can also watch us live on Star Times channel 274, stream live on YouTube and also on Facebook.